Ladies and gentlemen, can I just say, what a night. One of the craziest, especially that last fight, but one of the craziest cards I've seen in a long time. I mean, I know there's that trend of these kind of cards that aren't on the main stage and they're not pay-per-views, they're just fight nights and people look over them. They're usually the best cards, but it's fresh in our minds. But this is one of the best cards in the entire year. You had everything on this card. You had 2 fights, which could be fight of the night on any card. You had probably the knockout of the year. You have probably the fight of the year all in one fight. Not in one night, but in one fight. You got veterans winning, showing the skill trumps power and ferocity. I mean, you got a bunch of prospects showing themselves, exploding out of nowhere like Devontae Smith and Michael Tristano. I mean, tonight was crazy. Tonight was absolutely crazy. I'm blown away by that main event. I mean, by the time the co-main event was finished, I was thinking, okay, how is this going to trump everything we've seen on the entire card? And that fight alone trumped everything else that happened tonight. And let's talk about that fight specifically. I mean, you had Yair Rodriguez versus Korean Zombie, and they went toe-to-toe. Yair came out with a boxing approach, something nobody expected. And fighting Korean Zombie, most people would say that's pretty dangerous to do. I mean, he's a Taekwondo fighter with flashy footwork, and he's always elusive. He's never flat-footed, and he was flat for almost the entire fight. Just going jab for jab, and whenever Korean Zombie would explode forward with a combination, Yair just bolted out of there and just circled back to the cage because Korean Zombie was not cutting him off. And whenever Yair got in the southpaw stance, especially later in the fight, I think in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds, Korean Zombie was laying that right straight a lot. And he was finding his timing on the jab. Yair was landing a lot of jabs early and a lot of leg kicks early, right? So the early rounds, I think, were going to Yair, and as the fight kept going, Yair was slowing down a little bit. I think in the 3rd round, though, is where Yair had the most success. He landed some head kicks, he landed some hard right straights. He landed that one flying knee to a right round kick that intercepted Korean Zombie when he was trying to get away from the cage. And then as the fight went on, Yair started slowing down a little bit, and Korean Zombie was just finding his timing. He just found his timing. He was landing the jab in the orthodox stance of Yair and the right straight on the southpaw stance of Yair. And Yair really wasn't landing a whole lot later compared to what he was earlier in the fight until the Hail Mary upward reverse elbow. I don't even know what you would call that. I mean, he threw it back, in a literal sense, back and then up and KO'd Korean Zombie who was running into it. And the craziest thing is they had 10 seconds left. So like around the 12-second mark, they stopped and they started like communicating with the crowd because the crowd was going crazy. And then 10 seconds came and they still didn't go at it. You can hear the crowd start booing a little bit. And then they went at it for like 7 seconds. And after like 5 seconds, Korean Zombie was throwing that long combination. He was just ending the fight and gets caught. I've actually never seen that elbow land on anybody. Anderson Silva was throwing them at Michael Bisping, but Korean Zombie ran into it. Probably thought the fight was going to be over. So he got caught by a shot he didn't see at all. And those are the shots that hurt you. Those are the shots that knock you out. And especially a guy like Korean Zombie, who is known for taking shots and making it look like they never affected him. That shot put him out. And that's the way you got to put out Korean Zombie. You can't hit him with something he's going to see coming. 9 times out of 10, he's going to eat that shot. And I feel bad for Korean Zombie a little bit because, one, personally, he's one of my favorite fighters of all time. He always has been. I'm always pumped up to see him fight. If he lost a decision or a TKO or something, it's a little bit different. But getting KO'd cold like that, fell on his face and everything, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. And the worst part is he was actually winning the fight. I think Brett Okamoto reported that Chan Sung Jung was winning the fight. He was up 39-37, 39-37, and there was a 38-38 on one of the judges' scorecards. And that was heading to the final round, which I thought Korean Zombie won until the elbow landed, of course. That's the worst part. I hope this doesn't haunt him and just ruin him. Because this definitely happens. And we'll talk about Raquel Pennington later. He's a veteran, so I don't think it's going to hurt him that much. But just knowing now that if you didn't rush him like that with that ill-advised combination, I understand it was like 2 seconds left of the fight, you would have won the fight. Be the winner of the Fight of the Year candidate, as well as potentially gaining up to a title shot soon. It's madness. It's absolutely madness. And Yair Rodriguez coming off a layoff from the Frank Yeager fight, which he took a bad beating in, and getting scheduled up against Zabit, to then, for some reason, pulling out, and there was a bunch of weird stuff going around that, and then getting cut from the UFC and brought back, and now he's fighting Korean Zombie, of all people, and then he was going to fight Zabit again, he gets injured, then gets put up against Korean Zombie on short notice, and does what he did out there. He looked better than ever. This is an amazing Yair Rodriguez. I am super impressed by his boxing because his boxing was kind of lacking. Jab is on point. Check hooks from both stances were on point. Pretty good straight right hand. It's just completely blown away by what just happened out there. But man, was that a great fight. And the best move UFC made was to keep Yair around because he's still young. He's going to be a top contender in the future. And who I had winning the fight? I actually had Yair winning the fight, but every round was so back and forth. It was so close to call. If you were to tell me Korean Zombie won every round, I couldn't disagree. If you say Yair won every round besides the fourth and I think the fifth, the fourth round was very decisive. Very decisive for Korean Zombie. But the first 3 rounds, if you told me Yair won those, I couldn't disagree either. That's how crazy this fight was. That's how amazing this fight was. And you would think the way they were standing in front of each other, kind of lulling each other because they're not really used to that. Korean Zombie, even him, he likes to move forward and be aggressive, and Yair likes to back up and be elusive. They both stood in front of each other and kind of lull each other into this back and forth game. And usually when that happens, the crowd is kind of restless sometimes, but it was almost like a suspense. Oh, what are they going to do now? How are they going to come at each other now? Both jab each other. They do it again. They stand in front of each other. What's going to happen now? It was like a standoff the entire fight. Right? They threw something. One of them moved. The other one chased. They both went back to the center of the octagon. And it all started again. The standoff. It was such a dramatic fight. Such a suspenseful fight. And such an action-packed fight. And who these guys should be fighting next? I mean, Yair versus Zabit is a good fight, but Yair's going to be out for a little bit. He hurt his feet in the fight. He said he injured one of his feet in the first round by kicking the knee of Korean Zombie. He was blasting Zombie's legs in that first round, but I think it should be Zabit. And if it's not Zabit, Yair is going to go up probably to number 11, number 10 around there, so he's going to be higher than Zabit. So maybe Cub Swanson would be a fun one, or anybody in the top 10, to be honest, that doesn't have a fight lined up. And if it's not them, it has to be Zabit. It's a fight everybody's looking for, and now after a win like that, it'd definitely be a big fight. And for Korean Zombie, I mean, you can't knock him too much for this fight. He was winning the fight. He made a bad error in that last flurry. But for Korean Zombie, what would be a fun fight? I'd love to see him fight. Him versus Cub Swanson would be really fun, or Jeremy Stevens. I like either of those fights. And then for the co-main event, you got Cowboy Cerrone finishing Mike Perry in the first round by an armbar. And just like I said before the fight in my prediction video, Cowboy's too skilled. He's just too skilled. He's too technical for Mike Perry. He's too experienced as well. Mike Perry showed his inexperience in that fight by taking down Cowboy. Your best bet of winning the fight was on the feet, but he went and took him down. Probably got carried away. Rookie mistake. And he even admitted before, a while ago, that they rolled and Cowboy did whatever he wanted to him on the ground. He said he was beating Cowboy in the feet, but as soon as it goes to the ground, Cowboy's able to do whatever he wants. So taking him down, it's kind of strange. Maybe he got overconfident in his training and his grappling that he has nowadays, but it's not enough. I mean, Cowboy's a real black belt in BJJ, and most of his wins are by submission. So great win by Cowboy. I mean, on the feet, not too much happened. There was some jabs being exchanged. Nothing really was landing. Mike Perry's looking for that lead uppercut really long, and Cowboy was just moving his feet. Like I said in my prediction video, Cowboy's footwork is going to be too fast for Mike Perry. Perry is very plodding. From the Alan Jouban fight, if you could just move around Mike Perry, he has a hard time landing shots. On a still target, he's very dangerous, and Cowboy's just moving, looking for takedowns off counters, and that's it. Until he was taken down, Mike Perry got into a side control, and I believe Cowboy was able to bump and reverse the position on top, and then he eventually went for the back, went way too high, of course, and got into the guard, and Mike Perry didn't want to stand up at all. He was trying to stack on top of Cowboy, and Cowboy just got the armbar. He extended it. It was a pretty long setup. He extended it and went for the armbar. Perry just didn't see it coming. So great win by Cowboy. He says he's going down to 155 for sure, and he's actually pursuing the championship, so that's interesting. He has a different motive now. He says he fights for his kid. That's why he performed a lot better in the first round than he usually does. So a great fight for him. I like to see him versus Justin Gaethje. That's the fight. That's definitely the fight. Kicks are going to be a huge thing in that one. Cowboy's going to have a hard time taking down Gaethje. Gaethje's a brawler, but he fades. So as the fight goes on, Cowboy will be stronger. In the early rounds, Gaethje's going to be a problem. It's going to be a war. And for Mike Perry, not doing too well. We have to look at it objectively. He's not doing too well. He's won once in his last 4 fights, and that was against Paul Felder, and that was kind of controversial because of the whole thing with Paul Felder breaking his arm, and I think it was in the first round, and he couldn't block any shot coming on his right side, and that's what Mike Perry was throwing for the most part. A split decision, too. But a fight I would love to see him in with is Abdul Razak Al Hassan. If you want to see a war, if you want to see a very quick, stunning knockout just waiting to happen on two guys who just want to go forward and exchange hands, Al Hassan's the guy. So that's a great fight. I would love to see that one. And then we go to Raquel Pennington versus Jermaine Duranamy. Jermaine Duranamy wins by a decision, 30-27 on all cards. Plain and simple, she's just better. Everywhere. Just throwing a jab and then a long right hand and exiting back with a jab safely. And she was catching Pennington with it. Whenever Pennington was trying to capitalize on it, there were leg kicks there. And whenever it got into the clinch, because Pennington, she got caught by a right hand on every single round, a hard one. She found an opening for a double leg and got into the cage. Wasn't throwing anything really. Even in the cage, when Jermaine Duranamy was up against it, she was landing knees and just outlanding Pennington everywhere. Pennington didn't even make it uncomfortable for Jermaine Duranamy. GDR just had a field day out there. And Pennington looked like a deer in the headlights. She was doing nothing on the feet, really. She was just watching these punches getting thrown at her instead of reacting to them initially. And she missed weight. The beating she took in the Amanda Nunes fight, it looked like she broke in that fight. She didn't want to go in the 5th round initially. And there's a lot of red flags out there. There's a lot of red flags. And I think she just wasn't into it mentally. So it's a great win by GDR. She just shows she's way above Pennington. And the fight for both of them, Raquel Pennington, I'd love to see her fight Aspen Ladd. They have a very similar style, but if you really want to build on a prospect in this division, build her off Pennington's name, I guess, or her rank. Business-wise, it would be Aspen Ladd versus Raquel Pennington. And for Jermaine Duranamy, I don't know what Juliana Pena is doing. If she's open, that would be an excellent fight. Other than that, you could say a title shot. You could say put her up against Caitlin Vieira because Nunes is going to be fighting Cyborg. And Amanda Nunes might take some time off after that. So Jermaine is not hurt. Vieira's waiting for a fight. That fight for the #1 contender. And we go to Macy Barber versus Hannah Ciphers. Man, talk about a powerful strawweight in Macy Barber. I mean, she's huge. She almost missed weight, but her karate style is a problem for all these fighters. She has good high kicks, good in and out movement, especially on Ciphers, who's more of a Muay Thai fighter, very plodding. And Ciphers was just so much smaller. She couldn't cover the distance. She kind of waited for Barber to come in, and then she would exchange with her, throwing these short hooks and throw leg kicks from the outside. But other than that, whenever it got to the clinch, Barber just dominated. She found her home in that clinch, throwing knees, throwing huge elbows the entire fight, cutting up Ciphers multiple times. And as soon as it gets to the ground, you saw the most ferocious ground and pound in the strawweight division's history. I mean, she's going to be a problem for all of these fighters. The leverage in her shots is something you don't see in the strawweights. And she's only 20 years old. She's only 20 years old, still undefeated, promising prospect, and I'm glad to see her fight. She called on Mackenzie Dern. I'm all for it. Let's do it. Mackenzie Dern versus Macy Barber. If it stays standing, Barber is going to dominate. If it goes to the ground, Dern would probably dominate. But Barber's going to be a hard fighter to take down. I'm really interested in that fight. And for Ciphers, it's her debut. Maybe another debuting fighter, something like that. Then we go to Mike Tristano versus Luis Pena. This is a little bit of a shocking fight, in a way. Mike Tristano, he never really showed anything too spectacular, anything standing out, right? In this fight, he showed composure you would not expect from a guy who's only 8-0. Controlled the fight, made it very basic, nothing crazy, slowed down Pena. Pena was looking for these extremely long left straights. Mike Tristano was just slipping on them, moving away from them, and resetting the action every single time until he won a split decision. Now, I don't think Luis Pena won at all. I don't know how the judge thought Pena won, but Tristano's laying a lot of leg kicks too. I thought Pena would have expected that because that's a huge vulnerability of his. And training at AKA, I thought, they would fix that up a little bit, but he just checked no kicks. Just looking for the long jab and then long left hand, and he was so open for counters. Outside slip, inside slip, any which way, off the center line, and landing a counter shot was so open on Pena. And Paul Felder was saying that Pena was getting frustrated. You could see it. You could really see it. He was lunging for those takedowns, wasn't setting them up. He had some scary moments for Tristano there when he was going for the back and all that sort of stuff, but his takedowns got more desperate and more obvious as the fight went on. So great win by Tristano, landing good jabs, landing good straight right hands later in the fight where Pena was just trying to find his timing because nothing was working. And those leg kicks. I mean, just basic shots and controlling the fight. That's all it was. And for Tristano, I'd love to see him fight Mark Giacchese. That would be an excellent fight. Or even Joe Duffy. How fun would that be? Joe Duffy and Tristano. And for Luis Pena, I'd like to see him fight T. Edwards, who also was making his debut and lost. Or they could do him versus Julian Erosa, who also lost earlier tonight. Then we go to Ashley Yoder versus Amanda Cooper on the prelims. I thought this was going to be the fight of the night. Not before, but I'm saying after the fight. It was spectacular. Back and forth. A contest of will. Contest of heart. Amanda Cooper was starting strong in every exchange, but Yoder was finishing strong in every exchange. And ultimately, Yoder got the decision. It was a very close fight. I thought Yoder did enough to win the fight as well, but super close. But Yoder had some good long left hands in there, catching Cooper. Cooper landed with some good straight right hands as well. And Cooper kept going for those takedowns. And she got Yoder down, but Yoder always scrambled, always reversed. Just a complete back and forth fight. And I hope Amanda Cooper sticks around because she always puts up a good fight. And she is getting better. You know, she came into the sport as a pure striker. Pure boxer, that is. And really developing her grappling. So, great win by Ashley Yoder. I'd love to see her fight Angela Hill. That would be a really back and forth fight as well. And for Amanda Cooper, to be honest, anybody outside the top 15. Then we go to Chaz Skelly versus Bobby Moffett. Bobby win by submission, 2 minutes and 43 seconds in the second round, due to a Darce choke. Now, this was controversial. Close fight. I thought Chaz Skelly won the first round, but to be honest, I didn't watch the early parts of the round. When Bobby snatched into that Darce choke, was it justified for the ref to stop the fight? I think so, after watching the replay, because Skelly said he relaxed himself and got flat on his back, and there was no way Bobby was going to submit him unless he locked up the legs. Because he relaxed himself, when the ref grabbed his arm, it felt limp for the ref, so he just called it off. You can't blame the ref for that. I mean, it looked like he was going out too. I think it's a good stoppage. I think it's a good win for Bobby. Chaz Skelly is a learning experience. I hope this doesn't haunt him as well. You know, but if the ref is pulling on your arm, give him a signal, you know, like something. I'm good, man. He didn't give any signal, which tells me he probably wasn't looking at the ref, which also tells me he was probably going out. So, good win for Bobby. I'll love to see Bobby versus Arnold Allen. That would be an excellent fight between these two prospects. The ground game would be pretty crazy as well. As for Chaz Skelly, I'd love to see him fight Kyle Bochniak. That'd be a pretty fun fight. Contrast of styles. It'll really help each other improve the other aspects of their game. So Bochniak will be able to help Skelly in the future work on maybe some of his defense on the feet. And for Bochniak, it'll help him with his grappling and wrestling defense. And then we go to the Devontae Smith versus Julian Erosa fight. Devontae Smith winning in only 46 seconds inside the first round. I didn't think it would be that quick, but I expected a first round knockout for Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith, man, he's the truth. I was telling you guys about him. Everything I said about these two pretty much came to fruition. Devontae Smith, very dynamic, jab straight, and is very powerful, moving forward or moving backwards. He's just too fast, too powerful with his hands, and too technical with them. Julian Erosa has one defense, and that's footwork. His chin is always up, and he has no hands up and no shoulder to block himself. And he ran into the jab and straight. That was it. So, great night of fights, guys. Absolutely amazing. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to subscribe. I'm going to break down one of the fights on the card, so I'll be looking out for that. Leave in the comments below which fight you guys want to see broken down, and I'll break that fight down. There's so many good fights on this card. And my podcast is going to come out most likely by Tuesday, so be on the lookout for that as well. Tomorrow, I'm going to put up another comment on under my community tab for you guys to reply your questions under. And again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.